They thought she was just there to wash the dishes. They thought her mother's apron was a symbol of servitude, not skill. But when the millionaire chef tasted the sauce, the silence in the studio was louder than any applause. He didn't know he was messing with a master. Before we dive into this incredible story of hidden talent and sweet redemption, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. It helps us bring more amazing stories to light. Now, let's get into the kitchen. The aroma of burnt oil and industrial cleaner usually defined the cafeteria at Lincoln Heights High School. It was a Title I school, a bureaucratic term that meant underfunded, overcrowded, and largely forgotten by the city council. But today, the air smelled different. It smelled of expensive cologne and fear. Marcus Sterling had arrived. Sterling was worth $80 million. He owned 12 restaurants across London, New York, and Dubai. He was the face of The Sterling Standard, a reality show where he dismantled the dreams of aspiring chefs with the precision of a boning knife. He was here today for a PR stunt. His publicist had suggested that visiting a struggling school to revamp their menu would soften his image after a lawsuit involving him throwing a plate of risotto at a waiter went viral. "God, it smells like despair in here," Sterling muttered, adjusting his silk tie. He walked into the kitchen, cameras trailing him. Standing by the industrial steam kettles was Mrs. Etta. She was 60, with swollen ankles and a smile that could warm a cold room. She had been the head lunch lady at Lincoln for 30 years. Beside her was her daughter, Maya. Maya was 26, wearing a plain gray t-shirt and a hairnet, silently chopping bell peppers. "So," Sterling boomed, clapping his hands. "This is the team? The ladies responsible for feeding the future?" He dipped a spoon into a tray of standard-issue mashed potatoes. He spat it out into a napkin. "Wallpaper paste. Just as I expected." Mrs. Etta stiffened but kept her smile. "We work with what the budget gives us, Mr. Sterling. Canned goods and USDA surplus." "Excuses are the ingredients of failure," Sterling quipped, looking at the camera to ensure they got the soundbite. "Is there anything here that doesn't taste like cardboard?" Maya stopped chopping. She wiped her knife, a cheap, serrated plastic handle thing, and slid a small bowl forward. "Try the gumbo, sir. It's the Friday special." Sterling raised an eyebrow. He looked at Maya. She kept her head down, eyes on the cutting board. He took the bowl. It was a dark, rich roux, the color of mahogany. He took a sip. The explosion of flavor was immediate. It wasn't just spicy, it was complex. The trinity of celery, onions, and bell peppers had been sweated to perfection. There was a depth of smokiness as andouille sausage, but also a bright hit of acid at the end to cut the fat. This wasn't cafeteria food. This was New Orleans at a high price point. Sterling masked his shock. He couldn't let them know he was impressed too easily. "Acceptable," he lied. "Who made this?" "You, Etta." "My hands are getting a bit stiff these days," Etta said, patting Maya's shoulder. "My Maya does the seasoning. She comes in to help me on her days off." Sterling looked at Maya again. A narrative formed in his head. The poor lunch lady's daughter with a natural, raw talent. It was TV gold. "Tell you what," Sterling said, turning to the producer. "I need a wild card for the new season. The amateur slot. Maya, how would you like to come to Los Angeles? I'll invite you to the Sterling Standard. Let's see if you can cook when the ingredients aren't, whatever this is." Maya hesitated. She looked at her mother. Mrs. Etta nodded vigorously. "Go, baby. Show them." Maya looked Sterling in the eye. "I'll come." The set of the Sterling Standard was a gleaming coliseum of stainless steel and induction burners. The lighting was harsh, designed to highlight sweat on a brow. Maya stood at Station 12. To her left was Jean-Luc, a sous chef from a Michelin-starred bistro in Lyon. To her right was Sarah, a graduate of the Culinary Institute of America, CIA, who wouldn't stop talking about her externship at the French Laundry. When the contestants introduced themselves, the sneers were audible. "I'm Maya," she said quietly. "I help my mother in a school cafeteria." Jean-Luc laughed openly. "A lunch lady? Did you get lost, Sherry? The dishwasher station is in the back." Sterling walked onto the stage. "Silence," he barked. "In this kitchen, your resume gets you in the door. Your plate keeps you here. Today's challenge, the egg." It sounded simple, but every chef knew the egg was the ultimate test. A perfect French omelette required heat control, speed, and technique. It had to be pale yellow, zero browning, and creamy on the inside. "You have 10 minutes, Sterling shouted. "Go." The kitchen exploded into chaos. Pans clanged. Fire roared. Sterling walked the stations, critiquing. He stopped at Sarah's station. "Too much oil. You're frying it, you donut." He moved to Jean-Luc. "Decent fold, but your pan is too cold." Then he reached Maya. She was moving with a terrifying calmness. She wasn't scrambling frantically. She had a fork in one hand, the pan in the other. She was shaking the pan and stirring simultaneously in a rhythmic, circular motion, the classic French technique known as vanner. Sterling watched her wrist action. It was loose, precise. She tapped the handle of the pan to roll the omelet over itself. She didn't use a spatula. She used gravity and inertia. She slid the omelet onto the plate. It was a perfect yellow cigar. Smooth as silk. No brown spots. Sterling cut into it. The inside was a soft, creamy curd, baveux, as the French say. He looked at her, suspicious. You learned this in a cafeteria? Maya wiped her station down. My mother taught me to be gentle with fragile things, chef. Sterling narrowed his eyes. Beginner's luck. Don't get cocky. Over the next 4 weeks, the herd thinned. The challenges got harder. Week 2 was butchery. They had to break down a whole side of beef. Week 3 was molecular gastronomy. They had to use alginate baths to create flavor pearls. Week 4 was the dreaded taste test, identifying ingredients blindfolded. Maya survived every week. She didn't just survive, she excelled. But she did it quietly. She never used technical jargon. When asked what she was doing, she'd say, just cooking it until it feels right, or making sure the sauce sticks to the spoon. The other contestants grew hateful. They felt she was mocking them. It's rigged, Sarah whispered to Jean-Luc in the break room. Sterling is keeping her for the ratings. The poor black girl from the ghetto beating the trained chefs. It's a narrative. There is no way she knows how to execute a demi-glace without formal training. Sterling, however, was becoming obsessed. He reviewed the raw footage of Maya cooking. Look at her hand, Sterling said to his producer, pausing the video. Look at how she holds the knife. That's not a home cook's grip. She's pinching the blade at the bolster. And here, she's blanching the tomatoes before peeling them, but she has an ice bath ready before the water even boils. That's mise en place. That's discipline. Maybe she watches a lot of YouTube, the producer suggested. No, Sterling shook his head. You can learn recipes on YouTube. You can't learn economy of movement on YouTube. She moves like she's done 1,000 covers a night. Something isn't right. The semi-final theme was a classic French. The dish, livre à la royale. A royal hare stew. It was an ancient, incredibly difficult dish involving deboning a rabbit without piercing the skin, stuffing it with foie gras and truffles, and cooking it in a sauce thickened with its own blood. It was a dish that broke professional chefs. This, Sterling announced, is the dish that separates the cooks from the artists. Maya, surely they don't serve royal hare at Lincoln High? The audience laughed. No, chef, Maya said, her face impassive. We mostly serve nuggets. Well, try not to embarrass yourself, Sterling sneered. He wanted to break her. He wanted to see if the pressure would crack the facade. The cooking began. Jean-Luc was in his element. This was his heritage. He moved fast, arrogant. Maya stood still for a moment, closing her eyes. Then, she began. She didn't just debone the rabbit, she performed surgery. She located the joints by touch. She removed the ribcage in one piece. When it came time to make the sauce, she requested a specific red wine that wasn't on the common table. I need a Pinot Noir with high tannins, she told the pantry coordinator. Sterling overheard. High tannins? Why would a lunch lady know about tannin structures in reduction sauces? As the clock ticked down, Maya plated her dish. It looked like a painting. The sauce was a mirror glaze, nappe. Sterling tasted Jean-Luc's dish first. Technically proficient. A bit salty. Then he came to Maya. He took a bite. He stopped. The texture was velvety. The balance of gamey meat and rich foie gras was impeccable. But it was the sauce that stunned him. It had a gloss and a depth that only came from hours of reduction and mounting with cold butter at the exact right second, Montero burr. Sterling slammed his fork down. The studio went silent. Stop the cameras, Sterling said quietly. The director looked confused. Cut. Sterling walked around the station and stood inches from Maya's face. The nice guy act was gone. He felt deceived. Who are you? Sterling hissed. I'm Maya, chef. Don't lie to me. Sterling shouted, his voice echoing off the rafters. You didn't learn to debone a rabbit like that watching the Food Network. You didn't learn to balance a blood sauce in a high school cafeteria. You are making a mockery of my show. You're a plant, aren't you? Did the network hire a ringer? Maya looked up. Her eyes were watering, not from fear, but from frustration. I am not a ringer. Then explain it. Sterling demanded. Explain why your knife cuts are measured in millimeters. Explain why you know how to truss a bird with a butcher's knot. You're a fraud, Maya. You're pretending to be poor and unskilled for sympathy points. The accusation hung in the air. Fraud. Maya reached into the back pocket of her jeans. She pulled out a folded, worn piece of paper. She slammed it onto the stainless steel counter. Read it, she said, her voice shaking. Sterling looked down. It was a photocopy of a diploma. It was written in French. Sterling stared at the paper. Then he looked at Maya. The silence stretched for 10 seconds. You? Sterling stammered. You went to Cordon Bleu? In Paris? 5 years ago, Maya said, wiping a tear. I got a full scholarship. I was top of my class. I trained under Chef Marco Pierre White's sous chef for a year. Then why? Sterling looked around the studio, confused. Why are you working in a cafeteria? Why are you chopping peppers for minimum wage? Maya took a deep breath. Because my mother got sick. The anger in Sterling's face evaporated. The week I was supposed to take a head chef position in Chicago, my mom had a stroke, Maya explained. She needed care. She needed medication that cost $3,000 a month. The restaurant hours were 16 hours a day. I couldn't take care of her and run a kitchen. So I went home. I took the job at the school because it let me be home by 3 p.m. to take her to therapy. I gave up the toque for the hairnet because I love my mother more than I love the fame. She looked at the other contestants, who were now staring at the floor in shame. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to be judged on my past, Maya said. And I didn't want to be the tragic story either. I wanted to win because I cooked the best food. Is that a crime, chef? Sterling looked at the diploma, then at the livre à la royale she had cooked. He realized the magnitude of her sacrifice. To have that level of skill that people kill for, and to bottle it up, to serve sloppy joes and canned corn every day without complaint, simply to care for her mother, that was a discipline he had never known. Sterling picked up the diploma and handed it back to her with 2 hands, a sign of deep respect in the culinary world. Turn the cameras back on, Sterling ordered. The red lights blinked on. Sterling looked into the lens. Ladies and gentlemen, I have made a mistake. I accused this woman of being an amateur. I was wrong. She is not an amateur. He turned to Maya. Maya, in this competition, the prize is $250,000 and a contract to publish a cookbook. But I think that's insufficient. He took off his own apron. You didn't just cook a rabbit. You executed a masterclass. You have the humility of a saint and the hands of a surgeon. Sterling turned to the judges' table. Maya wins today. But I am disqualifying her from the final. The audience gasped. Maya's heart sank. I am disqualifying her, Sterling continued, a smirk forming, because she is overqualified. Maya, I am opening a new flagship restaurant in New Orleans next month. I don't want you to compete on this show anymore. I want you to be the executive chef. Starting salary is $200,000 a year, plus full medical benefits for you and your mother. Maya covered her mouth, sobbing. And, Sterling added, we will hire a full-time home nurse for Mrs. Etta. You belong in a professional kitchen, Chef Maya. It's time you put the toque back on. The video of the reveal went viral within hours. It wasn't just a cooking clip, it was a statement on dignity, sacrifice, and the assumptions we make based on people's uniforms. Maya accepted the job. Sterling and Williams opened in the French Quarter 6 months later. It was booked solid for 2 years. Mrs. Etta, now retired and healthy, sat at the best table in the house every Friday night. She would watch her daughter command a brigade of 20 cooks, barking orders in French and English. One night, a wealthy customer complained that his soup was taking too long. He snapped his fingers at a woman walking by in a white chef's coat. Hey, honey, the man said dismissively. Get me the manager. Maya stopped. She turned slowly. She wore the tall white hat. The name Maya Williams was stitched in gold on her chest. She smiled, the same warm smile as her mother. I am the manager, she said. And I prepared that soup myself. It takes time because quality cannot be rushed. If you'd like fast food, there is a cafeteria down the street. I hear they serve excellent nuggets. The man shut his mouth. The dining room erupted in soft laughter. Marcus Sterling, watching from the bar, raised a glass of wine to her. He had found the best chef in America, not in a 5-star hotel, but behind a sneeze guard in a high school lunch line. Sometimes, the greatest talents are hidden in the humblest places. Maya proved that your current station in life doesn't define your capability. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and share it with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe for more true stories of incredible people. What would you have done in Maya's shoes? Kept the secret or shown the diploma day one? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.